As we move through autumn and into winter, there's still some good colour in the garden, in particular with the Acers. This is the Acer Glade, and you can see some fantastic autumn tints still showing through. Once we move through into winter, then the shrubs really take centre stage. In particular, the Sasanqua Camellias, the other forms of Camellias also carry on through all the way into the spring. The Sasanqua Camellias are one of those plants that really gives you a bit of an early uplift as you head through into winter. This particular one is Camellia Sasanqua Dazzler, and you can see why. It has these fantastic flowers. It also has a very light scent, so it has that added bonus. A lot of camellias don't have scent, but the Sasanquas do. This one looks particularly good set off against this lovely green foliage. The Sasanquas tend to do better in a slightly sunnier position, so if you're going to plant one in the garden, make sure it isn't too shady, otherwise you'll lose those wonderful flowers. Another good, reliable Sasanqua camellia is Camellia Crimson King. It has these wonderful, very delicate little flowers, so a little bit more subtle than Dazzler, but also has that lovely scent. Another great plant for us at Treba, and only really does well in the milder climate that we have here in Cornwall, is Dicrura febrifuga. It has this wonderful blue flower which really stands out at this time of the year against these lovely, lush green leaves. It's very similar to hydrangea in the sense that it will change colour depending on the acidity or alkalinity of the soil. So in alkaline soil this would go pink, whereas obviously in our acid soil we have this lovely gentian blue. And just to show you how our weather patterns are changing and things are flowering out of season, this is Trimus winteri, and you can see it's already starting to flower with us. I mean, this is one in the past we've used for Cornwall Garden Society's spring flower shows, so it really does sort of mess with the plants, but it gives you some unusual elements flowering through the winter, and this is a good one because it'll carry on through the winter and probably get a second flush as we go through into spring. One thing we're hoping to add more to in the garden, and something we also sell in our plant shows, is Nerine Bodenii. It has this lovely sugary pink flower at this time of year. It's a bulb, but it will grow in very varied conditions, so slightly shadier or sunnier position. It really is good value at this time of the year, produces several flowers from each bulb and will multiply and divide up over time. The Hedychiums or ginger lilies are really known for their wonderful scented flowers, really impressive as you move through the latter part of summer and into autumn. But they also have some interesting attributes. In particular, this is Hedychium forestii. So you've got these wonderful seed pods at this time of year. They split open and they're a lovely bright red flower. So almost like a flower, and that little added bonus. Also good autumn colour as they die back at this time of the year. Another rather interesting plant at this time of year, the Banksia. This is Banksia integrifolia from Australia. It has these cone flowers at this time of the year, which are rather unusual because they're sort of perched on the branch axis. It really stands out and holds on to those right the way through into the following year. You can see some of the old ones from the previous year. It has really nice leathery foliage as well and seems reasonably tolerant of salty conditions. On a glorious cold crisp morning like it is this morning, what better way to end your trip down through the garden than around Mallard Pond and onto the beach. We have still a lot of colour in and around this area, around the Mediterranean border. We've got the salvias in particular, we've got the nerines looking good, and in particular there's little things to pick out from the grevilleas and also some of the bulbines. It's one of those gardens that really does have something to offer in different locations, and those vistas really do play a key part. There's also some lovely views if you get up towards the Eyrie, down onto the beach and out to sea, and also back up the garden. So do explore other parts of the garden because there's some wonderful views and vistas to be had. It's great to see that progress is moving along really fast now with the wall garden. As you can see, most of the zinc roofs are on. One of the cupolas in, so there's just one more there to go. The glass roof is in, and they're just finishing off the render at the back. All of the raised borders are in place with the capped topping, which is looking really, really good. So all that is left for us to do is to start to get in there, do a bit of the path work, set out the paths and the borders, and then we can get in and do the exciting part, which is the planting. So hopefully as we move through into next year, we can get the plants together and we can start to see this area taking shape for opening later on in the year.